Welcome to the Passive Income Machine podcast, where we show you how to break free from the grind and achieve real financial freedom in 10 years or less. My name is Ryan D. Lee, and I've helped thousands turn income into cash flow, trade fake money for real assets, and take back control over their time, their wealth, and ultimately their life. Each week, you'll get strategy, tools, and mindset to build your own passive income machine. So my friends, sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode. All right, my friends, welcome back to the Passive Income Machine podcast. You were on the microphone today with me, Ryan D. Lee, and today we're going to be talking about the Cobra Effect, why most retirement plans backfire and what to do instead. So if you're new to this podcast, I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy today's episode. Now, I want to start off the conversation today talking about a problem that I'm going to call the Cobra Effect. During the British rule in colonial India, the government, they had a cobra problem. They had a snake problem. These were lethal, venomous snakes roaming freely in New Delhi. So thinking that they had found a perfect solution, the British began offering a bounty for every dead cobra that was turned in. And at first it seemed like it was working. Snake bodies poured in by the hundreds. They're thinking to themselves, hey, we've got this problem solved. These locals are killing the snakes, and before long, we're going to get rid of all of these cobras. But the problem actually turned out to morph because some clever locals, they realized that they could really make more money by breeding cobras in captivity than killing them and just turning them in for cash. When the British discovered this, they shut down the entire bounty system. And this is what they then found out, because they went to the breeders and said, hey, no more money. So the breeders, they released thousands of useless cobras back into the wild. The result of this failed experiment was there were more cobras than when they started. In fact, 3 times more cobras than when the British started this little cobra experiment of trying to eradicate cobras by paying the locals. This is known as the Cobra Effect, a classic case of failing to think through second-order consequences. And unfortunately, most people make the exact same mistake when it comes to their money. So first off, let's start off with what are second-order consequences. Let's pause for a second, because this is a powerful mental model that you need to understand if you want to really build wealth, real wealth, in a constantly changing economy, in a dynamic situation. First-order consequences, these are the immediate short-term results of a decision. They're usually obvious, feel good, and easy to chase, okay? You save money in a 401k and you get a tax break. You eat a donut and it tastes amazing. Krispy Kreme is melting on your tongue. Sign up for something that everyone else is doing and you feel safe. But that's just the first ripple. It's the first order consequence. And here's the trap. Second order consequences are often the ones that are never thought about, or they're not thought about because they don't give you an immediate result that you can measure choice and reaction, choice and outcome. These are longer term effects that come after the initial win or after the initial decision. They're often unintended, sometimes invisible at first, but far more important. Let's go back to the 401k. Now your money in a 401k is locked up. You have no control. You're riding Wall Street's roller coaster, and you've set yourself up for a future of future taxation, and now your money is being eroded slowly over time with inflation. And then when you go back to the 401k to say, hey, I want to take my money out, you find out your money is trapped. It's a second order consequence. Let's go back to the donut. The donut becomes weight gain and low energy, and then lost productivity, and then poor health, and then leading into heart risk or whatever it might be, or obesity. Now, we're not taught to think like this, but we have to think about second and even third order consequences when it relates to the decisions that we're making, because usually our lives are a reflection of the decisions that we've made 3 to 5 years ago. In fact, look at your life right now and take an inventory financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Think about the decisions, the habits that you made or had 2, 3, 4, even 5 years ago, and see how those habits have led to exactly where you're at today. If you're overweight, if your bank account's not big enough, if you have a tax problem, whatever that might be, these are the second order consequences of the decisions that you've already made. Most people only consider first order consequences because it's immediate and it's emotionally satisfying. But the second and even third order consequences are what determine your long-term results. So don't skip them. You just choose which ones you're willing to live with. That's why I say don't don't just ask what happens next, ask what happens after what happens next. That's how strategic thinkers actually build wealth. That's how real financial freedom is ultimately created. So back to the financial truth. Let's bring it home. Most people say, I want to retire someday. So they follow the crowd. They dump their money into all of the common things that are prescribed by traditional financial advisors. 401ks, IRAs, target date funds, maybe they even buy some cryptocurrency. It feels smart. It kind of even feels responsible. And at least you're in good company because everyone else is doing it too. But what are they actually doing? What are they solving for? Well, it's a first order problem without clearly defining what retiring actually means. Without considering what's downstream, they just blindly follow the crowd. So let's look at the path from both sides. First order versus second order of these two consequences and these two decision paths. If we follow the Wall Street path, the first order consequence is you save in a retirement account. You feel responsible and you get a tax break. The second order consequence, though, is you lose control. Your money's locked away. You're at the mercy of stock market swings, future taxes, and inflation. You read a book like Robert Kiyosaki and he says Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or in the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and he says savers are losers, and you realize that you might actually be losing the game of money because you fail to think far enough ahead of what does putting my money in this account actually mean. Then if we go even deeper on this, we have a third order consequence. You arrive at 60 and you realize you don't have enough saved. You never actually ask the question of how much income will a 401k deliver. You just blindly put your money in an account that everyone else was doing. You didn't save enough, your money doesn't stretch far enough, and you can't retire yet, and you've traded the better part of 30, 40 years to arrive at 60 and realize you're out of time. You cannot course correct now because you've already traded too much time. Let's go to the passive income machine because that's what this entire podcast is all about. The first order consequence is you have to raise your financial IQ. You have to start considering what is the outcome of why I'm investing. Why would I put my money anywhere until I understand how much income it's going to deliver for me? What's the likelihood of getting that income? Does it rise or fall with inflation? And what are my tax consequences? With a increased financial IQ, you start asking better questions. And when you ask better questions, you start getting better answers. So first and foremost, you fund a vault. You then use your vault to invest in cash flowing real estate. You feel empowered. You see the results now, liquidity, protection, and cash flow. And you start to see things like inflation and taxes working for you rather than against you. Second order consequences. You now own an asset that has constant demand, an asset that rises with inflation, and you use leverage to gain access to that asset. You realize that $1 that you put into your system now does the work of 5. Imagine this. You put $1 into a vault. You then leverage the vault as a private line of credit as a down payment on a single family home. Just the very act of putting money into a vault, an overfunded life insurance policy first, and then leveraging that line of credit to be a 20% down payment, just with that single action, you've turned every dollar that you've traded your time, effort, and energy for into $2. Then when you use your vault line of credit as a down payment to buy a single family home, a bank brings the remaining 80% of the money required to buy that home to the table. That actually means that you've turned $1 that you had to work for into 5. This starts to accelerate your results and amplify your returns. Then, because you bought real estate, simple single 3-bedroom, 2-bath type of homes in middle America, these are always in demand assets. So as you look at the value of your property over 3 years, 4 years, 5, 7, 10, your value, the price of that property is rising, but over the very same time, your tenant continues to pay down your mortgage, amortizing your debt, meaning that you're creating this spread, this equity inside of your portfolio. Then your third order consequences, by the time you hit your 40s or your 50s, after 10 years inside of this system, you're done, financially free, early and completely in your control. Time and inflation have made you wealthy. You can now start pulling equity out of your portfolio back through the vault in the strategy that we call the equity mill and generating 6 figures of tax-free, inflation-adjusted income for the rest of your life. Hey, it's Ryan jumping in real quick with something that you do not want to miss. The How to Retire in 10 Years Summit is coming up, and this is the event that makes everything we do here possible. If you're ready to build real passive income and take control over your money and ultimately your life in 2025, now's the time. Early registration is open, and there's an exclusive bonus waiting when you join the list. Just hit the link in the show notes or head to retireintenyears.com. All right, back to the show. My friends, when we begin with the end in mind, when we start thinking about not just what is my immediate gratification, how do I follow the herd, how do I make low financial intelligence questions, when we start thinking about the value of money in our life, and understanding what we have to trade to get this money, and we start making better decisions with that money, our life starts to change. You know, the reality of this podcast is we talk about money all the time, unapologetically so, because money is a tool to help you buy your time back, to give you more options, more freedom, and more control over your life. I can't tell you how critically important it is for you, no matter who you are, no matter where you're starting from, to raise your financial intelligence. I want you to consider this. The entire world is trying to distract you. Why don't we ever learn about money in schools? Why don't we ever learn about money in college? Why don't we ever learn about real investing inside of our corporate careers? All of these systems are meant to trap you. They need cogs in a machine who go to work, trade their time for dollars, get a meager income, put their money in Wall Street hoping for a good return, and pay their taxes for the better part of 30, 40, 50 years with their fingers crossed. The longer you stay in that system, the more you benefit those who run the system, the banks, Wall Street, and government in the form of future taxation. As you raise your financial intelligence and you become empowered with money, you get an opportunity to opt out of that system, to play a different game. And that different game requires you to think on a deeper level. If you're already trading your time, why not win the game of money so much faster? I'll never forget, for me, when I came out of college, I just followed the path. I did what everyone else did. I thought I was smart. I thought I was being a good steward over my money. I thought I was doing the responsible thing. But in 2008, I realized that I had no control over anything I was doing. I watched my market accounts collapse, and no one could tell me why. No one could tell me when it would come back. No one could tell me that next time wouldn't be different than this time. But the biggest wake-up call that I had is I remember looking at people 20, 30, even 40 years ahead of me. I was still pretty young out of college, almost 5 years out of college when 2008 happened. And my goal at the time was to retire early. I wanted to work hard, save hard, and retire in my 50s. And I remember looking at people who were 20, 30, 40 years ahead of me and watching their retirement account balances disappear overnight. And I realized I was on the exact same path as them. I'm so grateful for those individuals. It sucks so bad watching that pain that they had to go through, but for me, it was like a window into my future. I was living their path, but yet I was expecting a different outcome, a different result. This, my friends, is the definition of insanity. So that's what this podcast is all about. It's helping you understand that if you want real freedom, you have to go below the surface. You have to think about second and third order consequences, and don't get trapped in the Cobra Effect. Don't just follow the herd expecting a different outcome. I invite you to learn more about the passive income machine, to attend our summit, and to become empowered with money, to buy your time and ultimately your life back. You got one shot at this thing, my friends. Why not go all in? Why not play to win? And why not live big? All right, my friends, that's a wrap for today. If you're serious, though, about turning everything we talked about into your new reality, there's only one place you need to be. It's the How to Retire in 10 Years Summit. This is your chance to learn exactly how to unlock financial freedom and build passive income in 2025. Early registration is live right now with an exclusive bonus for our early action takers. Don't miss out. Head to the link in the show notes or just head on over to retireintenyears.com and I'll catch you at the summit.